We all have our idea of the American dream, how to get there and how to accomplish it. My name is Jennifer Nickerson, and I'm gonna be here with some fellow dream chasers. We're gonna talk about the highs and lows, the obstacles, and the victories that come with chasing your dreams. So stay tuned, and when we're done, we're gonna have a map to start, continue, and achieve chasing our dreams.
I'm gonna chase my dreams down this big open road. I'm not gonna stop till I find that open door. You might say I'm crazy, that I'm just wasting time, but don't you worry, 'cause it's not your dream, it's mine.
Our two guests today are part of the Texas Icon, one of my most favorite things, the State Fair of Texas. We have the Corny dog heiress herself, Amber Fletcher. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And then we also have Rusty Fitzgerald, Mr. State Fair of Texas. He is the Senior Vice President of Operations, and he also runs, well, a lot of it, and you're gonna hear more about it, but the rides, which is one of my favorite parts as well. So let's get talking. Thank y'all so much for being here. I love this so much, and I love that y'all already know each other. So we're just gonna dive in and talk about chasing dreams, how y'all got started, and given the time that we're in right now, this is a tricky time of how to continue to chase your dreams. So some people's dreams are kind of getting paused. So I want to know, let's first start what a day right now, coronavirus time, what is it like for y'all to continue to chase your dreams? And Rusty, I guess let's start with you. State Fair, it's closed. We're shattered in our hearts.
Right. Well, we're still doing research and getting ready for special projects that are going to still happen even during the fair time. We can't really tell you what I'm planning right now. We're going to announce that on August the 27th. But, the Texas OU game's coming. You still got to have food. You got to have the beer. You got to have the corn dogs out there. So we're doing a lot of planning process, and as well as planning for the future fairs. Sometimes I'll work a year or two in advance on fairs for different years. So.
Well, and knowing you outside of just today, I mean, you're busy all the time. You barely have off time when it's not State Fair time because of all the planning that goes into it. Because how many people come to the fair average?
Somewhere in the neighborhood of about 2.5 million people in 24 days. So, for 24 days, we're the biggest amusement park around, even though we're a fair and only open 24 days. It's huge.
Well, and also, just a little side note that I know, how many miles do you walk a day, and then how much sleep do you get? Because those days, you're basically walking and awake for the whole
right.
time.
Well, I mean, it depends on what's happening on that. On a busy day, I may walk up to about 20 to 24 miles, 25 sometimes.
And can you imagine?
Oh, I do too.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah, you're doing the same thing.
And then sleep, I mean, a lot of times I'm up by 3:30 a.m., but I don't get off till a little bit after midnight. But sometimes there's projects to do after we close at night, and I may work 48 hours straight on occasion during the fair. So.
Wow. Okay, so Amber, you're saying the same thing. You're doing the same thing. What is it like, because we're going to backtrack in a second and go to the beginning of both of your journeys here, but what is it like right now? The fair's closed, which is such a big time for y'all. Y'all are doing a lot of Plan Bs and Cs to stay out front where people can get the amazing corny dogs that y'all offer.
Yeah, we are doing a lot of Plan Bs and Cs. I like that. We had been doing pop-ups and doing catering all year long, but then when the news of the State Fair's cancellation came, that Plan B and C was, we started getting emails from, hundreds and hundreds of people saying, I love you, I love your product, come to our bar, come to our neighborhood, come to our place of business. And so we just got flooded with these amazing emails of companies and people inviting us to come pop up. And so, we put a social distancing plan together of just wearing masks and staying 6 feet apart. And we have been nonstop every day working and booking events. We are already booked through Thanksgiving at this point. It has just been incredible.
With that, because I know for myself included, who I'm just so passionate about chasing dreams, things that I'm just naturally good at and things that I have to work harder at, but I want to achieve. there's so many people in all industries right now that their dreams are either completely non-existent right now because they can't function per government regulations, or there's people just with so much alone time being stuck at home dreaming of doing, but where do they start? So I would love to talk for a second about, y'all are already achieving so much, but there's so many different regulations right now. You can't even have the state fair. So what would you encourage people just on that note of they either have dreams they want to chase or they have new dreams? Just in the plan B and C, y'all just jumped into, okay, we can't just go out of business. We got to jump into the next thing, or okay, those dates are closed, but we have other things we can do. Talk about that a little bit, and what you would encourage someone who's kind of stuck right now.
Well, I would encourage somebody, if you have a dream and it may not come to fruition in a week, but you know, what is 2% closer to that goal? Think small, think baby steps. You know, is it simply just coming up with a business name? Is it getting a website? Is it starting a social media? Is it having a product that you like? Just 2% closer to that goal, and then the next day, and then the next day. You know, it's those action steps until you reach your goal. You know, it's not going to all happen tomorrow. And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs get overwhelmed, is you have this big, beautiful, amazing dream. How do you make it work? And in that how, you get trapped. And it's like, just think small. And I think that's what we did. We got the catering trucks just for catering, and then small events, and then festivals, and then it became pop-ups in neighborhoods, and it just built and built and built.
So, because starting a company, which I want to talk about that, where y'all started and how y'all got where you are, that in itself is hard, starting any company in any industry. And I feel like with the way 2020's gone, it's made companies almost have to hit reset, refresh as almost a, not startup, but kind of starting over,
I think reinventing.
Great word. Yes.
Doing it a different way.
Which is great at the same time. The whole world needed a facelift. And so hopefully a lot of industries are going to find that for good versus, you know, not. So let's start where you started with. Here you are, born and raised Texan.
Well, I was born in Oklahoma. And you would find me at 15.
No, Rusty, I didn't know that.
I went to first grade in Abilene.
Sorry,
but
everyone.
I was back and forth. But no, at 15 years old, I was going to a small school in Oklahoma. I was hauling hay for my summer job. And then all of a sudden we moved here to Euless, Texas. And I started Trinity High School, which was this giant high school. And I was starting my junior year. And so it was a kind of a tough time to move. But talking to a few friends after my junior year, they go, you need to come work at Six Flags. And
That's
so
fun. One of my favorite places.
And they said, you need to work in ground, sweeping the street, because you get to move around, you're not stuck in one spot. So I started at Six Flags sweeping the streets. Worked very hard.
Now, real quick, did you already like the amusement life?
No, I knew nothing. I kind of stumbled into this.
So you didn't go to county fairs in Oklahoma or anything?
We went to a few fairs and stuff, you know, around at that time. But, you know, at that time when you're 16, you don't know what you want to do. I didn't know at that time. I didn't have a plan or a dream yet. And once I started there and started sweeping the streets and working hard, I started getting promoted. I mean, I started off in March. I was an assistant foreman by April. And then May, they gave me a foreman of a crew. I was running a crew of 20-something, you know, just in a few months. The next year, I was a supervisor over it, running, you know, half the park of the cleanup guys. And then I moved over to the gifts and souvenirs. But my real goal was to get over to rides and learn the rides. Well, it took a few years on that, and I became over rides there, and I worked there for about 23 years. Wow. And when I left, you know, I was in charge of the rides and the cleanup guys, you know, all that. And then I got a phone call one day from the state fair and recruiting me. I wasn't looking for a job, but they recruited me over and talked to me enough to where I took the job. And basically, the state fair is a nonprofit corporation. There's no big corporate office. The decisions you make in your area make a big difference. And I
when you
like
say
that
your
freedom.
area,
The operations area.
Right. Talk about which areas, because there's several.
I do all the rides, games, all the landscaping. I work with security and first aid, trams. I mean, anything that basically moves. And I also take care of big techs. So we
Which
take
we
him
need to
up,
talk
put him
about
down,
that.
and take care of him. So it is. You couldn't ask for a better job, but you've got to work really hard at it and chase it. And you have people that work for you. And there's one thing when somebody does something wrong or something like that. My point is, does this person care? Do they care about the job? Do they care about what they did? As long as they care, I can fix it. You know, and if that, to me, that's the whole key. Do they care? If they don't care, it's time to get rid of them. Basically, just make sure you don't find yourself in that point. You always got to care and love what you do, and if you can do that, you can chase your dreams all the way.
I love that, and I've met most of your staff, and they've been there for a long time because of, I think, that very thing. They care. They take ownership for themselves. Okay, so Amber, Miss Corny Dog Heiress, we all, I'll speak for all of Texans, we love your corn dogs. And actually, I would assume all of anyone that's tried them. I was going to say Americans, but that goes international because, which we can talk about this in a second, the farthest country that's come to the state fair. Be thinking about that because I would love to know what y'all found. But let's talk about your family. Let's start with your grandpa. Tell the story. People love your corn dogs and maybe don't know the backstory.
Yeah, I'd love to. My grandfather, well, he was I believe, a 6th generation showman. He was in vaudeville, a performer. He started performing at the age of 5 years old. And in the 30s made his way to Dallas and was doing tent shows on the side of Haskell Street. Ended up finding a job at the State Fair of Texas doing a show called The Drunkard. He did that in 37 and 38. They did The Drunkard again, and performing and acting with his family, and was approached and was offered a food booth by a State Fair official, is what we were told, and just went home and try to think about what they could do, and was told that there was a dish that they liked on the side of Oak Lawn. They would go and have this kind of cornmeal sausage in a mold that would look kind of like an ear of corn, but you had to bake it. It was time consuming, and so they came up with the idea of how to kind of replicate that product, only fried on a stick. It takes 3 minutes to cook. Now you can walk around and enjoy it. You don't have to sit down. And started in 1942 at the State Fair of Texas, and people didn't even know what it was. We were told they had to cut them up into bite-sized pieces and just give them away, and that people always came back. And 78 years later, we've been at the State Fair every year since, except with this year. But it's been a family tradition since 1942, and I'm one of the 3rd generation owners. It was started by my grandfather, and it has just been quite the adventure.
Now, I also read that you have a specific flavor corny dog that you came up with, correct?
I introduced the veggie dog.
Yes.
So I have my degree in health science, and just knowing a lot of people for dietary religious reasons can't eat meat or can't have pork or whatever, and so we introduced the veggie dog, and what's special about it is it's non-GMO, and so for people that are health conscious, they want as healthy as they can get for a fried food item. So it's non-GMO, and it's a veggie corny dog, and it's been growing every year since we introduced it.
Now, where can people find, I mean, I know on your website it'll show where y'all are at, pop-up locations and stuff, but you're not sold at a store, or are you?
Right, no grocery stores,
Okay,
no brick and mortar. It is just, we like to have a Fletcher at every event on site, hand dipping and serving the customers that we've been doing for almost 80 years. And so it's very important that it is Fletcher owned and operated, and that we are the ones involved with every corny dog that goes across the counter. We want that quality and that crisp that people are so used to and accustomed to.
Well, and I don't want to say how many I've eaten over the years, but I've eaten a lot. You probably have had,
I've had several.
I don't even know how, over the years. And they're always amazing. They're reliable. That's the best part, is that you always know what you're going to get.
Thank you. Well, our mix hasn't changed since we started. It's been the same recipe for 78 years.
I liked on the website I was reading, and it was talking about the recipe, and it kind of gave that almost like it was going to tell you the recipe, but then it just kind of quickly ended this sentence with and we'll just stop right there, because I love that. I mean, it's a secret recipe and it's amazing.
It is, yes.
So, okay, let's talk about in your journey and yours as well, and then bringing it to even up to date with this year, some of the struggles that you could have stopped chasing your dreams. You could have stopped being in the amusement park world, as well as, I mean, it's family. So there's highs and lows in that. We all know that. So, I mean, you hear all the time, do not do business with family. So the fact that y'all have had such great success and that your father, your uncle, your brother, and other people from family are involved. Let's talk about that, because that's maybe a hiccup that someone can run into is, I don't know, I mean, you've been somewhere a very long time.
Right.
And you're still there and you're still passionate about it. Someone else could be on to the next, or I don't want to work with family. So let's dive into the struggles. What keeps y'all going over to the next side? Those struggles.
Well, I would say with a family business, I mean, you know, there's just different minds, different opinions, different strengths and weaknesses. And so it's, you know, what are you good at? What do you like to do? What do you want to do? How can we work with that? Because we all love it so much. It's our passion. And so trying to be just aware of the other person's wants, wishes, dreams, passions, you know, and things like that, and just allowing that person to express themselves while following in line with what the Fletcher way is and has always been. And so, you know, like any family business, there's disagreements. But every day we get up at an event, we stand together and we stand strong, and we serve corny dogs to thousands of people.
Can you join the government? I feel like they need your voice in our nation's government with that.
To stand
sentence.
together.
They need that, yes, to stand together, to support each other. We have differences.
Well, my
I like
mom
that.
raised me saying that third generation businesses barely make it past that third generation. So for 30 years, my mother has been telling me, you need to get along with your brother, you need to get along with your family. It's so important for the tradition and the legacy. And that is what I love about being a part of a legacy, is I'm in something that's bigger than myself. There's something I may want to do or would like to do, but how will it reflect the family business, the legacy, and the company? And sometimes you have to put those selfish ambitions aside to do the greater good for a legacy. And I love and respect what my father built so much that I'm going to do what I have to do to protect that legacy, for sure.
Oh, I love that so much. What about you?
Well, I guess the biggest challenges that we have at the fair are the weather, the rain, and of course the virus coming up. You know, that was something, if you'd asked even last fair when we were open, nobody had any clue that in this year and we're not going to have a fair.
How many times has the fair closed? Like this?
Well, we closed during World War II, during the World Wars, and that's been years
it,
ago.
right?
Yes.
It's crazy.
We've been open since 1889 or 6? Yeah, 1886. So it's been a long time.
Well, and I think something to connect both of your industries to any industry listening, especially with what you just said about the weather. I mean, you plan a whole year ahead, if not 2 years ahead, for X amount of days, and you have no control if people are going to show up. You have no control of the weather. I mean, two big things that factor in your functioning and being successful. And so where do you go mentally, even emotionally for that matter, as a boss, in operations, of trust that it's all going to work out as it's supposed to?
Right. Well, part of business, you always kind of plan for the unknown. You've got to keep that mindset of that. And we're lucky at the fair that we had the forethought to think of that, you know, let's plan for 1 year we don't have a fair, and we plan for that. And so when it comes around unexpectedly, we're kind of ready for it. We're a nonprofit corporation. We don't get any funding from the city, state, or any taxes or anything. We survive on what we do at the fair, period. Now, a lot of fairs that are like that didn't have the forethought to think of that, and you know, they're going to have to borrow money to keep operating. So it's tough. So running a business, you always got to think about maybe the unexpected, you know, something, because you don't know if you're going to get 20 days of rain in a 24-day run or 0. And so you kind of have to plan for all that.
Yeah, and I remember one year, well, many years, but 1 year in particular, I was going with my family to the Army game that was there.
Right.
And it rained, and I mean, again, we had our tickets. I mean, we were just one group, but I mean, you don't foresee weather, especially Texas, because we could have a tornado, snow, and sunshine all on the same day.
Right.
But that, I remember that particular trip, we had people in town that were my dad's college buddies and their families, and I mean, that's just one day, and that's just a group. And we planned and all this, you know, all the stuff of the schedule, and it got postponed. It didn't get canceled, thank God. But anyway, it's just.
I was the one making the decision on
I
the
remember
postponing
calling you
and
about
pulling
that.
players off the field.
Yeah.
Yes, I do the weather too.
Well, we are running out of time now, but I want to talk about real quick your extracurricular activities. I know with the fair y'all have your greenhouse. I want you to talk about that. I want you to talk about all of the stuff that you're doing, because another thing about Dream Chasers is we don't like to get stuck in just one job. We have pockets of other things that are our outlets as well. So talk about that, and let's kind of wrap it up, encouraging everyone that's watching, especially in this crazy time of thinking outside the box.
Right. Well, working at the fair, one thing I love about working is something different every day. I mean, it's never the same. And one of the things we do in the landscape program is the urban farms, Big Tex Urban Farms, and we actually have a greenhouse where we grow produce. We have outside box where we grow produce, and we give it all away to the South Dallas neighborhood. It's a food desert. They don't get a chance to get fresh vegetables, and part of the funds that we make from running the rides and running the games supports that. And so we actually grow quite a lot. You know, our goal is 1 million pounds or 1 million servings coming up in the next few years that we've actually donated to the South Dallas area.
And I know when you talk about you're passionate about it, it makes you just as happy, if not more, to be able to giving back to the community as running rides.
It feels really good, and plus, you know, we all enjoy the landscape end of it. I mean, we're basically growing in water, in rocks with no dirt, and I can grow a cucumber plant 20 feet high and just throw out cucumbers that long all the time and sit there and take, you know, 20, 30 pounds off of it a day.
I know, next time you're at the state fair,
plants.
get to the greenhouse. It is unbelievable. It'll blow your mind, especially when he's talking about growing in water. It sounds kind of simple, but when you see the way it's set up, it's pretty incredible.
We have the capability of growing about 225 heads of lettuce a week.
Wow.
You know, harvesting that. So if we all set it up for that, so.
Yeah. You do it yourself, people. You're going to see it and want to go home and try to build those same setups. Okay, Amber, you do so much, and I want to get to you especially about the speaking engagements and things like that, so people can get you out even more so to their companies or wherever you speak.
Right, thank you. Well, I would say, like with my dream, it really is this family business, and that it's carrying on what my father and grandfather did, but it's also mixing kind of my passion into it, and, you know, along with my brother and my cousin, you know, we're all owners, and it's, you know, what are our dreams in the company? And one of those is, you know, being more accessible to people. And so that's when we got the food trailers and we started going out into the community more. And when the pandemic first started, I mean, we were getting requests from people wanting to send us anonymously to feed healthcare workers and police and other first responders. And so that kind of kickstarted, you know, that part of the company. But really just seeing what the next 40 years could look like for my family company, and just how to mix in kind of our individuality and what we love to do. You know, I love to be social and talk and go out and network, and I get to meet a lot of interesting people, which started leading into me doing some speaking. Simply just sharing my story, some of the things that I've had happen in the past, some things that I've had to overcome, how I worked through them, just a lot of the process that helped me get through them. People started asking me to come talk with groups and things, and then I've also done a few seminars and workshops back at my alma mater, Texas Women's University, on how to start your own mobile food business, because I think giving back is so important. And so everything that I've learned in the last few years, I'm now going and doing and teaching, so that other entrepreneurs can learn all the ins and outs of how to start their own business. And so doing things like that, anything that has to do with inspiring and giving back and helping others, if I can do that some way, I'm more than happy to help somebody.
Well, I love that. And I'm a huge believer, which I know we all are here, that God created us all for a purpose. And especially when we connect with that, we'll thrive more than just doing kind of your average convenient job. And so I love that We're all dream chasers here. And to those that are watching, you are too, and we hope that you were inspired today. Thank you, Rusty, for being here. Thank you, Amber. Especially thanks to Grace Point Media for letting us be here. And I just want to make sure before we go, just that you can channel into your dreams, think outside the box, look what's around you, but think outside the box of what else there is for you to do. And let's support each other, love each other, and be the best we can be. Y'all have a good day.